Hi guys, so I'm Vidhya. So I'm working in ServiceNow as a senior software engineer. So today I'm going to talk about building reusable UI with the web components. So, so before I start, so I want to ask how many of you are familiar with the web components? Great, nice. Okay, so some of you might be familiar with the web components, but some might be feel it might be a new topic. So I'll start with the basics right now. Okay, so imagine you're working on a large project with a big team where each part of your application uses different frameworks. For example, header is using in React.js and blocks pages built using the AngularJS, for example, and community pages built using the Vue.js. So anything. So assume you want to build a common component, maybe button or card, and you want to share across all the different frameworks. If you want to use it in a single framework, it's pretty easy. Like you can create a common component and use it. But if you want to share it across a different framework, it might be quite challenging. So at the end, due to the timeline pressures, what we will do, we will just create a simple component and in 3 different frameworks and we may use it. But web component resolves that problem, and that's exactly what we are going to learn it today. And let me go to the agenda. Yeah, so first I'll cover what is web component and what are the core concepts of the web component. And I'll also tell you about lit, which helps to build your web component project. Like it's a base for web components. And I'll also show you a demo covering all the core concepts, and I will tell you the benefits and challenges. Yeah. So what are web components? So everyone aware of HTML tags, right? Button, form, we have semantic elements, non-semantic elements, and so on. But web components take a step further to allow you to create one HTML tag. You can create a HTML tag by yourself. Along with that, web components added an encapsulation where you can define your own HTML template, logic as well as CSS. This will not collide with any of the other components. And this is pretty easy. You can use web browser APIs to build your web component. So you don't need to know any framework, React, Angular. So it's pretty easy. It's a HTML tag at the end. Yeah. So these are the core concepts that are very base for the web components. So first one is custom elements. Custom elements is the customizable HTML element which you are going to create. And second is the shadow DOM. It's a it's a very important thing in the web components. This is the only thing that is going to segregate your logic and CSS from your rest of your application. And third and fourth are the templates and slots. So this helps you to dynamically update your content from the JavaScript. And last is the lifecycle callback. So everyone is aware of lifecycle callbacks. So in React, we have did mount, did update, everything, right? So similar to that, web components also have some lifecycle callbacks. Yeah. So first I'll start with the custom elements. So as I said earlier, it's pretty much similar like our default HTML element, just that it added some own logic and CSS part. So it's pretty easy to create a HTML element. So it's basically from the web browser API. We can use custom element or define, and we can define our own element. So in order to not collide with a normal element, we should use hyphen for a naming convention. And we can define our JavaScript class, which should trigger whenever that element is called. So whenever our browser detects this HTML tag, it will directly go to a JavaScript file and it will use our own logic here. And this can be used across all the projects and frameworks. Yeah, next is the shadow DOM. So this is really a core principle of the web components. Okay, I'll tell you one analogy. Assume a submarine is traveling deeply into the ocean, okay? So assume our ocean is our web page and a submarine is a shadow DOM. So shadow DOM, like submarine is completely isolated from our ocean's external environments like water pressure, temperature. Similar to that, shadow DOM completely isolated from our other components which will not collide, which has its own logic and CSS file separately. And it's really have some benefit because it is self-contained. So it's pretty easy to maintain. And if any issue happens, it will affect only this component. It will not affect any other components or anything. And there are also two modes. Whenever you're creating web components, like we can attach a shadow DOM using this attach shadow mode open. So mode open means a JavaScript file can access our shadow root using element.shadow root. But in case if you want to maintain some strict private access, you can make it as closed. But in most of the projects, we will use mode open only because we may need to access via JavaScript for our functionality. And yeah. Next is HTML templates. Most of you are familiar with this keyword, HTML templates. So assume HTML template as a blueprint for your content. So whenever browser detects the structure, it knows, okay, let it have it, but only when user triggers it, then only that will be rendered in the DOM. So you can decide when you want to render it in your browser. So this is really useful when you want to dynamically show some information based on the data availability. And fourth is the HTML slots. So this is another important thing that if you are using the web components, you will use practically in your projects. So HTML slots act as a placeholder within your predefined template. So user can dynamically pass a content from parent to this web component based on the slot. So this is also really flexible because our HTML content or children can vary from framework to framework. So you can dynamically pass how you want to decide. So slots are really helpful in this situation. Yeah, so life cycle callbacks. So yeah, so every web page has the initialization phase and we have so many things, right? So first is constructor. Of course, we should use it for initialization. So here you can't access the DOM. Like in this stage, DOM will not completely rendered into the web page. So you can use it for initialization and connected callback. This is behave exactly like component did mount in React.js. So this is once our page is getting rendered, connected callback will be called, and here you can make some initial API calls like as you wish. And third is the disconnected callback. So whenever you want to prevent clear up the event listener subscription, you can use that in the disconnected callback. And attribute changed callback. So sometimes if you may have the attributes in the HTML tags, right? So based on that, you may want to perform some action. So this lifecycle method will be used if you want to do something based on the attribute changes. Yeah. First, let me tell you about the lit. So lit is a pretty lightweight library that can be used for building the web components. So in React.js, we have JSX, syntax. It's pretty much useful for you to build the web components, right, in an easy way. So lit is the same, like it also does a similar job. So it will really help make you easy to build the web components. So if you don't use lit, you can also use it pure vanilla JavaScript. But at the end, you need to do you need to create an element called document.create element. Everything you should handle via pure vanilla JavaScript. But it will make you a very easy way to create a web components. At the end, this is also built using the web components only. And what are the core concepts of lit? So first one is declarative templates. So I'll show you the syntax in the demo, but declarative templates means you can define your HTML in a template literal to render in your components. So yeah, as I said before, if you don't use this, you need to use vanilla JavaScript. And second one is reactive properties. So whenever you're updating something in your code, it will automatically reflect in the DOM. It's similar like how we will use it in other frameworks. So it's very much reactive. You don't need to refresh manually or anything. And the third one is efficient DOM updates. So whenever you're updating something in your component, only that components will get affected. It's easy to update your DOM, only that particular DOM without affecting the anything. So without lit, it will be little hard, but lit makes life easier. Okay. Okay, so I'll show you a demo. I have created a React application and I have created another project for web components. Okay, so now I am just going to tell you about the concepts, and I have also integrated my web component with my React.js project, and I have used Rollup for building for demo purpose. So this is my web component project. And yeah, so first I have created one basic component, and this is my React.js project. Yeah, so since I created a NPM library for a web component, I used a NPM link to link it for now locally. So I have imported my web component here, and this is my React.js projects, and I have just imported my 4 web component here. And I'll first start with WebEx card basic one first. So this is my first web component, and here what I'm trying to do, yeah, this is my output. This is basically a card component here. And so as I said you before, first our component will start with the constructor. Here I have defined my variables here, and also this is the place where I created my custom HTML element, WebEx card basic, and this is my class name. And since we are using lit also provides additional benefit for rendering. So as I said before, because of lit, I can use this render function. Render function comes from lit. If I want to show you package.json, I have installed the lit here. So yeah, in the render method, I have defined my HTML part. I'm getting this image URL, title and description from the properties. So here, this is the place I have defined my props. In case if I don't have the props, I will show the basic content here. So this is how, it's pretty much easy. So this is how web component works. Another thing I want to show is this styles. So here I have added this host, right? Host means when you want to define your CSS for your custom HTML element, you can use this host. Without this, you can't directly use it. So you need to use host here. So this makes your component self-contained without affecting anything. And second demo is life cycle part. So yeah, I pretty much covered there. Connected callback means the initial life cycle, and disconnect you can use it for component unknown state, which means like at the end you can use. And this updated life cycle I haven't covered in the previous slide because it's not part of the web components. It's from lit. Lit helps you to update the changes whenever state properties get changed. So this is coming from our lit library. And I said you right. There is some attribute changed callback. So here I have defined a button for incrementing the counter, and I am adding one set attribute dynamically. So this will trigger your attribute change callback. Like you can do anything whenever attribute change. So third, I will come to slots. Yeah. So, I'll show you the syntax first. So, in my card component, I have defined simply like this: slot name, title, description, and link. And from my React.js application, I'm sending this my own tag with the correct slot what I have mentioned there here. So this will automatically inject in my web component. So if you want to send only the text, you can use props, but child may different, right? So we can use this slot at this point. And last one is I want to show, yeah, webcard dispatch event. So here I have on-click function for now. So on clicking of this button, we need to send some data to a parent React.js project, right? So we can use our pure JavaScript custom event. So here I have dispatched, and in my React.js, like I can get it back from, I'm just listening here, and I can get those details. So it's pretty much easy for UI components. So you may ask, what's the difference between web components and React? In React, we can even define our React project as a separate NPM library, and we can use it. You can ask that. But React, it's a framework, and if you have a React library, it may not be compatible with your Vue.js project or Angular project. But if you want to have some UI elements component, you can use web components as a separate package. Even you can use module federation also. Like it's up to your project scope. Yes, it's really useful for UI components sharing, and it's really useful for design system also. If a company is building the design system, like it's pretty much useful. Yeah, I'll talk about benefits. So almost I pretty much covered the benefits in the previous slide. So I'll just recollect once. So first is reusability. So once you define a component once, you can reuse at any number of projects at any time. So it's pretty much reusable. And second is encapsulation. It's completely isolating your styles and logic other than your web page component. So it really encapsulated. And interoperability. So it is framework agnostic. So you can integrate in any frameworks and use it. And fourth is maintainability. Since it is self-contained, even some issue appears, it only will affect your component. So it's pretty much maintainable. And standard base, and you don't need to learn any new framework. It's pure vanilla JavaScript, and it's a web browser API only. And reduce DOM updates. If your change affects in one component, like only that will be re-rendered, whole DOM will not be painted. Yeah, we can use in design system. For example, I'm working in service now. We are using the design system. So we already defined button should be like this only. We already pretty much defined. So we are using in the design system project. So where we already had a button, card, model, everything we defined there. So there we are using this web components. And we are using the CMS called Adobe Experience Manager. So from design system, once we deployed it, we can import that component from Adobe Experience Manager and we can display it. So it's mostly useful for design system project. And there are also few other things I have noticed, if you don't need to rely on any framework, you can use this. Sorry? Okay, design system. In case if your company if your company follows specific set of rules, like there may be set of rules, right? Your button background color should be like this. If everything is predefined, if you are working on a larger team, if everything is predefined, if you don't want to build it from scratch, so design system you will set it like button should be like this. Everything UI should be predefined. So it makes you to not worry about HTML much at the later part. Even if few other 1,000 employees join your company, design system is already built. You don't need to worry about HTML. So they can concentrate on other things. So it's specifically for concluding the HTML part. Yeah. So of course, everything has a benefits as well as the challenges. So first one is limited browser support. So right now, web components, no. No, no. So it completely depends upon the requirement. So I'm working on a larger team. So there we are working on, because of that we are using the design system. But if you are using if you don't rely on the larger team and if it is something frequently changeable, if you are building one button now, and again after 1 week, if design team come and ask you to change the button color, in those cases, it won't be applicable. If you are working on a large team, if everything is predefined, and if you want to make your HTML fixed, you can use this. Yeah. Yeah, correct. If your website relies on multiple frameworks, for example, in my website, we are using Angular, React, vanilla JavaScript, so many things. So we are using the web components as an advantage. Yeah. So I'll talk about challenges. So first is limited browser support. So of course now all the browsers are supporting the web components, but older browser like Internet Explorer is not supported. But we are using the polyfills for this. Like everyone can use polyfills to support all the browsers. And second one is CSS scoping and styling. Though it's an advantage, it's a disadvantage too. So our CSS is isolated, right? But in case if you want to access a global style from your component, it might be little tricky. So we have to handle that. Third one is SEO. So our web components completely rely on the vanilla JavaScript. So our SEO can't understand the JavaScript, right? So we have to do the server-side rendering if you are using the web components. And if you can lazy load if you want to do the client-side rendering, like whichever, if it is not immediately required, you can use the lazy loading policy. Fourth one is accessibility. It's a custom element, right? Screen readers can't understand the custom HTML tag. So for that, you need to make use of area attributes. So you need to manually handle that accessibility stuffs. Fourth is lack of tooling. Yeah, in React, we have a state management, router, so many things are there because it's we have a number of libraries for that. Angular is a framework, but here we don't have much custom tools. It's completely on browser APIs. So we may need to explore more. It might be a little challenging. And yeah, last point is learning curve. If we are from any framework background, like it might be a little difficult at the start, but it's achievable. At the end, it's a vanilla JavaScript and browser API, so it's achievable. Yeah, so that's a pretty much from my side. So web component has a good advantage as well as limitations. I guess you should try it for your personal projects for learning purpose. Thank you.